Let me raise my chair. Again, on today's episode of Does Matt Know How to Run a Podcast?
You are having such a hard time.
I'm having issues, man.
Are you okay? Like,
No, I'm good.
we did this for the past 52 weeks. I feel like you haven't figured out by now.
I keep moving my chair up and down now, and it keeps pissing me off. All right, I'm ready. In 3, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Funny Business Podcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again to a very special episode we have for you guys today. We will get into that, but before we do, Mike, how are you doing on this beautiful afternoon?
Dude, living the dream, as a dad would say, in the fellow dad world out there. Shout out to all the dads and daddies out there. Matt, it doesn't feel like a special day, but I think because of the date, what we got going on, and some of the news that's coming out recently, I feel like we're in a nice, balanced day, and I'm certainly enjoying that, Matt.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just it feels a little I don't know what the correct word is. Not peaceful, but it's like today was just like a kind of like a calming day a little bit, and then we just get to celebrate it with today's episode.
1 year, baby. Matt, I cannot tell you how crazy it is. Matt, I believe this is my first project that is digital that I've actually made it past 1 year, well, a year and a day, let's call it that way. But this is the first project that I've actually stood by as a side work, not main work, for that. So it's exciting. It's weird. I don't know how you feel about that.
It is really weird. Like, to think that a year ago, I had no idea how to use a microphone. I had no idea how to record myself on a microphone. Thank God we have you for that, or else we wouldn't be here. And it's just crazy, like, to think, like, the progress we've made. Like, we've learned so much on, like, what works for the podcast, what's good to talk about, what's not good to talk about. And it's just crazy to think where we are today, like, how much... not better we've gotten, I don't want to brag, but like how much we've like learned about this whole process and about each other too.
I think it's cool we have that personal progress. Like, I know you said, like, yeah, we've gotten better, and you know, when people think we got better, it's more competitively across other podcasts, across other platforms. But really, in reality, I think you and I have taken advantage of quarantine, taken advantage of running podcasts. And, you know, I think everybody who follows us knows we're much more than a podcast by now. We're on social media, getting some polls and some postings, and we're live streaming. And, you know, it's a nice thing to do after work. And that's really, I mean, it is really cool. And I think there's very few people in between that could say that I'm doing a podcast with my best friend every week, every Friday, and live streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays, and talking about the stupidest of topics that we could talk about. It's, you know, it's crazy too, because I remember we first started out. I actually wasn't here on my main desk. I actually was in the corner. And Matt knows where my office is. So I was in the corner. I literally was on like a great kind of like a shelving unit trying to figure it out. And like, we had no video. The video was just meant for us to sit there and look at each other and just see if we needed social cues and whatnot. But I can remember it like yesterday. We were saying, okay, we're going to try 30 minutes. 30 minutes doesn't work out. That's fine. We could try it again next time. And we weren't even done with the second topic of the first half. We were already 32 minutes in. And I'm like, we should go the full hour.
That is the craziest part. Like, we had no idea what to expect from the first episode. And you said your setup was different. I've had like 4 different setups. I remember the first episode, my laptop was on my bed. I was like holding the microphone in my hand. And then I had like just a regular stool from our kitchen that I was sitting in. And now here we are today. I have like a full-grown desk. My microphone actually stays up 24/7.
For the most part.
That's a pain in the ass to put a microphone together every single week. You mentioned something how like it's just a cool thing to do. People ask me all the time, like, do you have fun doing this?
You're popular?
No. Yes, but that's a side point. You know, when they ask if you have fun doing it, it's like one of the most fun things like I've ever done. Like I not to lie, I think about it like every day, like trying to see like, oh, would that be a good topic? Like, would this be fun to talk about? And like planning it is like equally as fun as actually doing it, if that makes any sense. I know that might sound crazy to some people, but it's so much fun to do that I like never want to stop.
I think there comes a time when there's some surprises, Matt. Like, we'll take for instance, like I don't think I share like the one thing. I know we're kind of reminiscent. I feel like we reminisce every other episode. There's some actual stuff we have to get to today, but hey, it's the 1 year episode. We could get over an hour. Hopefully, you are driving more than an hour. But anyway, I think one of the things that I always enjoyed was improving the sequence. Like, yeah, recording, easy. Editing, on the other hand, which is more my side of the house, was a challenge at times. I remember starting off with audio. I wasn't the best at audio, and now I'm kind of understanding audio a little bit more. But because I was such on a schedule with running something audio related, that I was like, okay, so how do I make this better? It wasn't that I needed to find a project and spend more time on the project. Is I had a project incoming that I could work on the audio and be able to work with that. So that's something I'm very thankful for. But you were saying like the planning, the surprises, like I think another thing that comes up to me is when we did the Halloween special, and like I had like the howling and what else? I had the witch cackling and all these extra things, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I want. This is exactly what I want. So it's pretty cool to have that process and the growing process. And again, you have people that watch us on YouTube. Hello, everybody from YouTube. You see us waving. Hello.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Mom. Hey, Ma. We have the audio version, and then some people just like us playing Fortnite and Rocket League for all we know. Like which, by the way, actually we'll say that for the last topic of today. I only have one set, but I want to add an extra one. But it's fun to improve. And Matt, I kind of want to ask, what's the biggest thing that you've learned on your side of the house? I know this is kind of repetition for me, but as someone who you said, didn't know how to podcast, like what's been the biggest learning moments for you?
That's everything. It's so hard to like pinpoint one thing, whether it's like learning how to record and like how like I don't know how to edit the podcast, but I've seen you edit the podcast, so I know a little bit about it.
With a beer, of course.
With a beer, always. Whether it's like making social media posts that like is actually like people don't understand, that can be kind of fun at some points when you're making like a cool graphic and you have an idea of what you want and then you actually make it like how you want it. That's a really cool feeling. I don't even know if I can just pick one thing. Everything that I've done in this past year has just taught me like so much. I know that's probably not the answer you're looking for, but no, it is.
It's dude, there's no right answer, wrong answer. There's no dumb answer or smart answer. Like as long as I always say, as long as you're learning something and you're getting something out of it, then that's all that matters. So I think it's cool. Come on, a full year of running a weekly podcast with no interruptions, no breaks. And I think that helped us with quarantine. And Matt, I know for you had, I shared an article with you not too long ago about podcasting. I want to try to pull it up really quick because you did mention it briefly.
It was a very interesting article. I mean, it really puts things in perspective when you think about like the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm. So I think, Matt, we can both agree that when quarantine stepped in, we technically were going up against a lot of other people who wanted to start a podcast because that was the only thing that they were able to do on Zoom or any type of electronic communication, was start a podcast. And there was an article that I shared with Matt. This is by 9 to 5 Mac. It's written by Ben Lovejoy. It's how many podcast shows are there? It depends on what you count. And of course, it goes into just talking about podcast indexing. So there was one quote that I'll say. It says, analyzing data from Apple Podcasts reveals how that statistic is misleading. So the statistic that they're referring to is closer to 2.5 million shows. So analyzing data from Apple Podcasts reveals how that statistic is misleading. Out of the 2 million titles reflected in Apple Podcasts and similar results from Podcast Index, a remarkable 26% have produced just a single episode, one and done. That suggests many people fired up their creative juices, especially during the pandemic, and stopped after creating one episode. Roughly 1/4 of all podcasts are out of business, or more likely, were really never in it. And I feel bad for those who either stopped, but we just kept going.
It just puts things in perspective when you hit the year mark. You sent me that like last week, I think it was.
Yep.
And it's crazy because you do think you're going up against like millions and millions of podcasts, but in reality, like they don't make it past 10 episodes. And here we are at 53. And who knows how like we could hit episode 9 million.
And granted, Matt and I, we're, there's people that do this for a full-time job. Like, we're not the Joe Rogan podcast. We're not the Try Guys. We're not Call Her Daddy. I'm trying to balance who's another girl podcast. Pardon my take. Yeah. They're a bunch of ladies. But we're just doing this for fun. And I think that's the best advice that we can share with anybody is come up with a schedule, because that's the biggest thing I share with everybody is come up with a schedule, because if you don't follow it, you're not going to do it. And then just have fun, because if you're going in for money or for fame, you're all losing the wrong reasons. And, like you said, it's a fun little thing when people know that you're running a podcast and they want to ask you, but they're like too afraid to ask you about running a podcast.
It's a neat conversation point too. And like we said, it's just been so much fun and I'm excited we're still doing it. And here's to another 53 episodes.
Here's to another year. Cheers, my pal. Water.
Not an ad.
Not an ad. Well, I am happy to report, Matt, the Funny Business podcast is 75% vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine.
True. Yep.
I bet you're like, what? Where's that number coming from? So I actually got my first vaccine yesterday of this week of the recording. 1 year podcast. We're recording on 420, baby. Blaze it. Yeah, we both don't do that. Disavow. Unless it's recreational, it's legal.
That's true. or medicinal purposes.
More medicinal. So got my first vaccine. My arm does hurt a little bit as that, but you do not feel the injection happening when the vaccine goes in.
Not at all.
I did, Matt, have a little issue. I kind of saved, we were kind of gaming a little bit last night, so I kind of want to save this conversation. I ended up actually, the vaccine was given, and I actually was bleeding a little bit. And the person who was the nurse was like, you're not on blood thinners, are you? And I'm like, I was going to say, I'm 25 years old. Do you really think I'm on blood thinners? But I said, no. I said, is it bleeding? Stupid me asked that, is it bleeding? And so, that's fine. Wiped it off, Band-Aid it, sat for 15 minutes, see if you got a reaction. I didn't. But then a lady came over and I'm like, does that happen? And she's like, well, we could have hit like a muscle or something like that. And I'm like, so you're saying I got muscles? I was like, oh, it's such a dad joke. And I texted Jenna. I said, I hope you realize you have a muscular boyfriend.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks. If it makes you feel any better, I bled on my first shot as well.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What
kind of weird question? What kind of Band-Aid did you get?
The regular one. Like the regular brown.
You didn't get the circular one that they put on first and then they shoot the needle through?
You were telling me about that.
That's so freaking cool. I don't want any other Band-Aid the rest of my life. So like it's a little bullseye. They put it on first and then the center is like mesh, or I don't really know what it is. And then they stick the needle through there. But I did bleed off my first one.
Yeah, some people were sharing, and of course, now that I got all the vaccine memes now on my TikTok, it's like, if you ever feel sore with your arm, pretend you're the Winter Soldier and you're cranking your arm around in a circular motion.
That's a good one.
But it was funny because I had one of my colleagues, Mark. Now, Mark, if you haven't met Mark yet, Mark is a very healthy guy, I guess. Let me put it out that way. The dude's ripped. Like, dude could be a bouncer for all we know. And he walks out, he goes, how was it? And I'm like, I don't know, Mark. I said, person said I had muscles and didn't do okay. I said, I don't know what the heck's going to happen to you. I was just having a dandy old time at the hospital. Very few oftentimes, knocking on wood, that I've ever been at the hospital as much. So it's like, like just walking through, checking out. Like, ladies were so impressed that my paperwork was all printed and all my write-outs were written through the computer and printed. And they're like, you made my life so much easier. I'm like, Just trying to do my job.
The process does go a lot better when the workers are really friendly, and both when I got my first and second, the workers were super friendly. So it does ease like any tension that like you might have.
Yeah. I mean, sitting there, I don't remember the last time I had a needle stuck in me. It was kind of nervous, but I'm like, I've been told you don't feel it. And like, really, you did not feel it. It was kind of cool because there was a kid with special needs that was getting his vaccine. His father, I believe so. His father was, being his parent consent, and he was nervous. And I would be nervous too, just based on that. And kid was so happy getting the vaccine. He was kind of like, everybody's clapping. It was like cool. Like it just, you're part of something, and I hopefully for the better. And none of the bullshit that we're seeing online with everybody about vaccinations and whatnot. So
it's awful. I will say I did get my second one last week.
Yeah, you did.
I was a little not under the weather, but the day after I was very tired. The way I keep explaining it to people, it felt like I did like a full body workout.
Okay.
And I was just like tired and sore like the whole day. Like I didn't really feel like doing much. I just kind of like laid in bed and sat in my chair all day. But that was about the worst of it. It was funny when I actually got the second shot. My arm was like a little tense. I didn't know it, but it was. So I put in, and my muscle like jumped. Like I actually felt it. Like it still went. It still worked. But like, I was like, "Oh shit! What just happened?" And he was like, "No, your muscle was just a little too tense." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
We injected the super serum by accident.
I don't even want to think about that.
We're all just turning into super soldiers by now. Sorry, we're geeking out over the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Matt finally caught up to it finally, and I was
it's
like,
fantastic.
I was like, did you watch all of them yet? Because there were some TikToks that were hilarious, and I'm like, I gotta send you a couple TikToks.
Really good show. I am enjoying it a lot.
Matt's gonna start WandaVision soon, or did you already?
I did not.
You did not? Okay, Matt's gonna
maybe
start a
we'll
little
do some
WandaVision.
Marvel reviews. Maybe.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, Matt, talking about reviews, man, I do have an emergency segment.
Okay.
Apple.
Sound the alarm.
I
I think I saw this. I was very confused.
Oh, dude, your Apple genius is right here to serve you and to everybody else in the community.
Thank God.
Matt, very interesting. Apple released its Apple Spring Loaded event today. And with that, I'm reading from TechCrunch. They released a bunch of new products, believe it or not, Matt. So a couple things I'm going to share. I'm just going to get a reaction with. The first thing that Apple shared was, was the Apple Card Family Initiative. So for those who don't know, Apple has a credit card with Goldman and Sachs. I actually have, surprise, right? I have an Apple Card. It's very helpful, though. It's what it will allow you to do is share your card with anyone in your family over the age of 13 with customizable spending limits for each added user. You'll now be able to co-own an Apple Card with another adult, with both owners building up their credit equally. Matt, how do you feel about that?
I kind of like that. I like the idea that like parents can like sometimes let like a 16-year-old use the credit card, if I understood that correctly.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I kind of like that idea. I think families could kind of get into that pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Matt, next thing, very fitting for the podcast. Apple Podcast is getting a redesign on the app itself, including an option for paid subscriptions, monthly or annual, to individual podcasts.
And again, I think that's a pretty solid idea. I don't see why people wouldn't go for that.
Next thing, Matt, very unique. No, they did not release an iPhone, but they actually released a new color to the iPhone lineup, which was purple. It is actually going to be available today at the time of this recording. Launch the podcast Friday today. Be able to pre-order for that. All in the iPhone 12 lineup, iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 mini.
Is it like a light purple? Is it a deep purple?
The best way I can describe to you is that it looks like, oh God.
Oh, I just Googled it.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like a lavender.
Yeah.
Kinda. I like that.
I like lavender.
That's a pretty cool color. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what lavender is, but it's a neat color.
It's a flower.
No, I know.
God, I hope I'm right. Matt, you did see this on my Twitter, I think. AirTags are
Yeah,
released.
this is what I was confused at. I couldn't understand what they were.
Have you ever seen tiles before? Not like tiles of a bathroom, but like the electronic tile.
I don't believe so.
So basically what it is, Matt, you are very well aware of the app called Find My, which allows you to find your laptop, your iPod, any type of Apple accessory in that. Now you can actually find other products like your book bag, your purse, other things as a tag. You attach the tag to it, and in the Find My app, you're able to use that app to locate such things. Now, the thing that stands out the most is that it has I forget what the true technological definition was, but it actually, you pull out your phone, you click where the thing you're looking at, and it actually directs you in the direction that you can hear it at. So like it actually gives you like directional ways. I'm very impressed with the price, believe it or not. Costs $29 for one. If you want to get a pack of 4, it's $99.
Wow.
I was very impressed with that price.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. So it can be used. So it's just like a tracking device, kind of, essentially. Okay,
it's a tracker.
I like that. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously, you can't put it on like. Well, okay,
You could
put it on your keys.
You literally could put it in your car if you got lost every now and so often. You can locate your car.
That's good when you go to like a big city or like a sporting event and you can't find your car. Maybe, I think that's a pretty solid idea.
Mm-hmm. Matt, the next thing, you are very well aware of this product, Apple TV. Apple TV got a big refresh. It's now an Apple TV 4K. They did have an Apple TV 4K, but it is now powered by the Apple's A12 Bionic Chip, which, if I recall correctly, it is in the latest models of our iPhone. So, Matt, what you have is an A12 Bionic Chip, or A13. I'm not 100% sure. Matt, believe it or not, a lot of the times they want to have some great picture quality. You can actually use your iPhone to calibrate the picture. So it actually uses the phone's LiDAR sensor and be able to get a picture quality finish with your TV, no matter what TV that you're using.
That's pretty cool. I like that. So basically you can pick like 720 and stuff like that. Like
no, so the color of it, you use, I'll show, you should take a look at it later, but literally you put your phone up against where it wants you to set it, and it actually sets the color so you can actually have a very true colorful experience with your TV.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's
dope.
The big thing that everybody was talking about was they actually redesigned the Apple remote now. So instead of you having the swipe up at the top, it now actually has a almost a old school dial that you used to have on your iPod. Oh my God, what iPod Nanos? Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's sick.
Yep.
I want to get that just so I can feel like I have an iPod Nano again. I'm not even kidding.
Jenna's like, maybe I should get one of those. I'm like, it's either the TV or the Apple TV. You pick the TV, then you pick the Apple TV. But believe it or not, Matt, it's $179 for the 32 gigabyte model, and $199 for the 64 gigabit.
I don't think that's terrible.
That is not that terrible.
No, I think that's a pretty good price.
Matt, the second biggest launch was new Imacs. They are in a wonderful, colorful design. They come in an array of fancy colors. It is built with the Apple M1 chip, a 24-inch 4.5K display. Matt, everybody's been complaining about it in the tech world that the Imacs and Apple computer set has a 720p camera. They finally upgraded to a 1080p FaceTime camera. Whoa. So now you can have beautiful, absolute picture quality 1080p FaceTiming, because they literally said like, oh, because of the pandemic. So literally, thank you, pandemic, for allowing Apple to finally put 1080p FaceTime cameras in there.
Hold up, wait a minute. I don't know about that.
Matt, you can get an 8-core CPU 8-core 7-core GPU setup for $12.99, or you can bump it up to an 8-core GPU CPU for $14.99.
Prices aren't awful for the big upgrade.
Now, part of which is because of the M1 chip. Like the amount of things that were spent to get the Intel chip and then the hardware. You'll see the comparison, Matt, when you do find it on your social media, that it's much thinner in comparison to some of the other models. And also, it works well with some of the Apple products that gets fit into it. I'm a big fan of 64 gigabytes of RAM and all that good stuff. So I'm very curious as to how well it does work, and I have to actually try it myself. Matt, believe it or not, they do come with extra accessories, a Bluetooth Magic Keyboard that now has a Touch ID fingerprint sensor.
For the keyboard?
For the keyboard. So, like, remember those small keyboards? Yep.
Yep, got it. I like that.
Touch ID. Last but not least, what they released, Matt, is a new iPad Pro.
Okay.
So what it is now is it's going M1. So that's using the Apple M1, Apple Silicon, or the M1 chip. And they're now putting it in their iPad now. It is 8-core GPU, 8-core CPU. So that's probably, no, it's not the first time there's, so it's literally, you're buying an iMac as a tablet.
That's pretty sick.
Again, 11-inch model, 12-inch model, $799, $1099. Cellular models will now have 5G support. Thunderbolt and USB 4 supports through USB-C port. The 12.9-inch model will have a liquid Retina 8 XDR display that Apple says pack 1,000 nits of full-screen brightness. And a feature that Apple calls Center Stage will automatically keep your face in the center of the frame during FaceTime calls, even as you move about the room.
Whoa, that's kind of cool.
I've seen it.
I didn't think they could do that.
Seen that. Very, very weird, Matt.
like freaky weird, or just like
freaky weird?
Do that weird.
Because I saw some like in early development, and it was like you were over here, and like your eyes were like this the whole time. Like it was very, very weird. Like you knew there was something going on about that.
Interesting. I'm curious to see how it would look like in like real person.
You can get, Matt, you can get up to 2 terabytes of built-in storage and 16 gigabytes of RAM. So, okay, so this makes total sense because I saw a tweet and it was like, what even is a computer? Like now you're having iPads getting souped up with computer specs. That's all I'm going to say. Computer specs. And I mean, yeah, people now use iPads as their computers now, which I don't recommend if you're going to college, but some people do.
Yeah, I mean, some people just like the feel of a tablet better. Like my mom doesn't really use a laptop. She uses an iPad, but she's not someone that needs to have a laptop. Right. I personally I use my iPad, but I personally like using a Mac better. I like having like a keyboard that I can type on. I do a lot quicker with that. But like you said, some people love iPads. They love tablets. And especially it's easy for kids to use tablets as well. So that's probably why they're trying to maybe combine the two in a way.
For somebody like me, I definitely want to have that computer experience. Like for the work that I do, I need to have, Final Cut Pro is not available on the iPad yet. So I kind of am very limited to that.
True.
Can't edit the podcast on an iPad. But, I think it's opening more to the realm of people not possibly buying an Apple computer or buying a laptop. Like now you're moving into the iPad realm, which, do I see us getting into that tablet array in the near future? I don't, but I definitely do see it now that Apple's now kind of opening that can of like, okay, now we're literally putting a computer in an iPad now. I think I see that coming.
It's funny, and then they'll add like a keyboard that you can type on the iPad, and it's just a laptop, but they'll probably make millions off of it.
Well, you've seen my iPad before. It has that smart folio. Is that what it's called? The smart keyboard? Like you literally attach it. Like that's what you use, man. And it's a laptop now. And I've not taken that out ever since. I take it out for some things, but I've not taken it out. And I use it as my case, and I use it as a travel thing. So,
I will say it is easier to transport an iPad than a laptop, I would say. I don't know if you agree with that.
You said it's easier to transport a laptop than an iPad?
No, easier to transport an iPad than a laptop.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That part makes sense.
Yeah, even when I'm like at the car dealership, like I will not bring my laptop. I will bring my iPad and sit there because I'm not doing anything that's requiring me to do a bulk of a lot of work at the moment.
Right. Now, do you think, I don't know if a lot of people do this, do more people buy iPads with cellular? Is that becoming more popular?
I don't know the true statistics for that, Matt. If it was me, I would totally. Just because that allows you to work anywhere, and yeah, you are treating it like a phone, and but then again, they literally put LTE in watches, and we were like, yeah, okay, but now people are doing it now. Like now people are putting SIM cards in their Apple Watches for anybody knows the red dot on the side with a digital crown, like that is a cellular Apple Watch, and some people do it, some people don't. I would prefer not to do it because I'm a power user. Like it's the same thing. But if it was me, Matt, I had the money and I had the funds, I would totally get an LTE iPad or now a 5G iPad. So I definitely see that being a common cause for that.
Yeah, it's definitely very family friendly, I would say too.
It's family friendly.
Well, like if you're just like traveling and like in the car, and the kids want to use the iPad, they can use the iPad.
Mm-hmm. So it's I liked the event. I think it gave a little bit more opportunity for people who may want to dive into the Apple realm or enhance it a little bit. I don't see myself jumping anytime soon because I'm kind of okay where I'm at. But I think I think Apple does come up pretty big with the thing. Besides an Apple smart car, which has been multiple rumors going on at the moment. So
I'm definitely getting the AirTags. I'm all in on those.
I might too, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it. Like it's something useful to have. The what do you call it? The new Apple TV, like I think I'm gonna wait on that until mine goes kaputs.
I think that's the one that like Amazon really competes with them is with the Fire Stick. Like I personally use the Fire Stick, and it's very easy to use. So I think that probably takes a lot of the competitors or the market away from Apple in that field.
I think the remote helped a lot.
I agree.
But I've always explained this to everybody. It's the ecosystem. Like why doesn't the older generation hop from iPhone to Android? The one thing, FaceTime. It allows people to FaceTime, and no one's ever going to jump off of FaceTime because of the ecosystem. So, you have those quips that you work with. But yeah, it was kind of cool. Loved the presentation again. Loved it. It was beautiful. Drone flying was fabulous. But yeah, it was really cool, Matt.
I love Apple events. They're always just fun to watch.
I'm really looking forward when they actually come back to normal. But at the same time, I'm like, I kind of want to keep it this way. Like, it's cool. Like,
maybe one of the things that COVID changed forever.
Yeah. Well, Matt, what do you think? One more topic just for shits and giggles, or
go for it?
All right, man. Well, speaking of the other tech giant, we're gonna hop over to the Bookface or the Facebook. Matt, a town in a French town is kind of experiencing a little bit of a fight with Facebook. Matt, the residents of a French town thought just that after. Wow, excuse me. We might as well not do another freaking a topic for us. But Facebook decided to remove a Facebook page of a French town named Bitch or Biche. Or Biche.
So how is it actually pronounced in France?
I don't know.
Beach?
I think it's Biche.
I mean, what are we doing here? Like, why? Why? It's the name of a town. I understand it may sound bad, but in France, that's not the word they say. Like, just because it's a bad word in English doesn't mean. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. So anyway, the Benoit Kiefer, mayor of Ville des Bitches, received I can't even do this segment. Received a Facebook message about noticing that the page was missing. The page was taken down on March 19th. So I think the release of this by CNN was about April, 14th. The town, which has about 5,100 inhabitants, instead created a new Facebook page called Marie 507230 based on its postal code. The original page was restored Tuesday morning when Facebook became aware. The California-based company told CNN, adding it had been, quote, removed in error. Kiefer invited Facebook chief executive Mark Zuckerberg to the town to discover our pretty fortified city that has been distinguished itself in the history on several occasions. The commune in northeastern France is known for the beach citadel, which towers over the town on sandstone rock, according to francevoyage.com, an online tourist guide. The historic monument was notoriously difficult to take over. The famously held out for 230 days during the Franco-Prussian War in 1870. Matt, I'm going to say the last quote. The bitches and the bitches are proud to wear the name. It's bioshes and the bioshes, but the bitches and the biatches are proud to wear the name. The Americans already wore it proudly with touch of humor, of course, Kiefer added.
This town should make like merchandise that says like bad beach choices and bad beach choices. This is the bad bitches. Definitely a very unfortunate name for the town. I'm glad they got their Facebook page back. Would you live in a town that was named Bitch? Like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Bitch.
I'm from Bitch. What's in Bitch?
Very unfortunate. Also, go ahead.
To give everybody, I don't know if I spelled it, but it's Bitche. So
yes, that is important. Shout out to CNN. First sentence in the article, sometimes life can be a bitch. That's just a fantastic first quote. This is just a funny story. I mean, it's just cool to has like they're named Bitch, and they got their Facebook page back. So I think everybody wins in this scenario.
Oh yeah, I mean it's nice. It's a lot of hard work for you running not running a Facebook page, but of course to get the amount of followers to a certain page and to be able to host that amount of information. It's tough.
Now I want the article in like a year from now saying how many tourists they got in this town because of this mishap. Like, what if they're like the next up and coming town in France and they just kill it in tourists this season?
I know you didn't hear it, Matt, but in the meantime I was double listening. I was listening to the pronunciation of this town, and it's beach. Beach.
That's even better.
Life's a beach. Life's a beach, and I'm just playing in the sand. So
always.
Well, Matt, that concludes the phenomenal entertainment all over the place for today. When we come back, we got Matt, and you know what he's got. He's got sports. You don't want to miss it. Let's say you start a podcast, or you're running your own side hustle and have a bunch of links that you want your audience to know about. As a podcast, Matt and I have all of our social media, all of our podcast links, and other important things. Make it easier for your followers to find your important links, social media, and latest content by having it all in one page with solo.to. I'll be honest, I have used similar websites like this, but nothing compares to solo.to. All of your links are clean and easy to navigate. Have an upcoming video? It's really easy to make those changes. Plus, solo.to has opportunities to upgrade to include more customization, advanced analytics, and so much more. Solo.to is giving us a special opportunity for you to get 10% off if you create an account and upgrade. Be sure to go to solo.to/funnybusiness to create your account today. Solo.to, it's the way to go. Do you think, Matt, people are tired of hearing our Anchor ad?
Yeah, probably. But let's be honest, if it wasn't for Anchor, we would not be doing a podcast.
You're right, Matt. Once again, we have to thank Anchor for helping us continue to make each episode. Y'all know how it works. Anchor is free. It's easy to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, and distributes your podcast to platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more.
And you all know that you can make money too, even with the first couple episodes that you start with.
So why haven't you started your own podcast yet? Anchor is everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm.
So, Mike, when do you think we'll stop talking about Anchor?
Oh, man, Matt. You know what? To be completely honest, I think we'll be talking about this for a long time.
Okay, let's slide into the sports segments for today. We are going to start with some basketball. Mike, recently I started to discover a website, basketballreference.com,
Okay.
which is very interesting for people that want to like dive into like stats and like analytics and stuff like that because they
Interesting.
have like everything. I mean, you can compare like I was comparing like guys' third years to other guys' third years in the league, and like I can make a case why Mikal Bridges is going to be the new Kawhi Leonard. Not going to do that right now. And there's always talks about is analytics good for the game? Is it not? Yada yada yada. Well, I tend to think analytics is pretty good. I mean, you get to dive in and learn more about the stats than the regular box score.
Numbers don't lie, people do. I will
Facts,
stand by that all day,
facts.
every day.
Best quote ever. But people need to know what they're talking about when they use analytics. And unfortunately, there was a moment on Twitter last week. CJ McCollum's brother, so CJ McCollum is a basketball player for the Portland Trailblazers. His brother Eric, who also does play overseas, was trying to defend him on Twitter, saying his defense was not as bad as people were making it. So there's two tweets that I'm going to reference.
Okay.
The first tweet, Eric McCollum was responding to someone saying that CJ's defense was a liability. So Eric tweeted, I speak facts, not opinions. So besides my experience and knowledge of the game, here's a fact for you. The average defensive rating for an NBA player is 110.6. CJ's defensive rating is 113.5. He is above average by every defensive metric used to evaluate players. What liability? Carry on. So he thought that he just boom roasted that guy.
One of these things doesn't belong.
Would you like to guess where he went wrong in this?
Well,
No.
it's the defensive rating. So is an average rating for an NBA player is 110.6.
Correct.
So isn't it? Yeah, I have two evaluations.
Okay.
Now I'm like starting to second guess myself. Is it the lower the number, the better
For defensive, correct.
for defense? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going with that. So
Yeah. So basically, Eric said, well, CJ's defensive rating's higher, meaning he's a better defender. He just not a good look.
no.
So how bad does it look though when your brother's trying to defend you, and he's wrong?
Then he's just worse.
I guess. And to make matters even worse, let me pull up the second tweet when he tried to defend himself.
Oh no.
So this one, he kind of made it okay.
Right.
He responded as the tweet loads. Portland's team average defense rating is 116.1. So then he finally realized what defensive rating was, and then said, team is better with him on the court defensively. He's an above average defender on this team. No one really bought that explanation because you
Right.
already made yourself look like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
So I would talk about analytics real quick. Do you think there's too many analytics being used? Just in general, in sports.
I'm going to say yes. I feel like there should be more of a uniformed analytic base. Like, I don't want to say top 10 analytics, but like, I think here's the thing that annoys me is that all sports have different analytics, like as a whole, meaning like stat lines and whatnot. I think the thing that makes me the most frustrated is that like hockey, for example, you can get an assist of an assist. And like basketball, you can get some really great passes to get that extra assist, and that stat line does not count. I just think there needs to be better analytical standpoints where no matter what sport, I mean, yeah, some sports you can't physically uniform, but no matter what sport you follow, you have an idea overall as far as, I know it's a very hot take, but like overall, you need to have somewhat of a uniformed analytic stat line for everyone to follow.
I think the one that comes to mind that might be able to be used is baseball has one called WAR. It's wins above replacement, saying like basically how many wins that player gives their team instead of like a regular average player. That one might be able to transfer. Probably the only one that I can think of off the top of my head. I like analytics. I just don't always agree with teams making every decision they make off analytics. Like we talked about with the World Series when the Rays pulled their pitcher after he gave up like 2 hits because the analytics said it was better to bring the bullpen in. It didn't work out for him. That came back to bite him in the ass.
Now, if you're heating up, like let's just say I'll take that instance. Like maybe he was actually doing very, very well pitching, and he ended up, the analytics were like, oh well, he doesn't do well. Well, he's okay. Like, and yes, analytics, they should help you make your decisions, but you shouldn't die by the decisions made by that. Now, the thing that annoys me is if you solely base it off of the player, then I'm going to be a little bit more upset because that becomes political. And we all know in high school how athletics were when it came to sports. If you knew somebody, you were friends with somebody, your father did this or your mother did that or your sister, brother, whatever the hell happened in that relationship, your son or daughter got to play because, that's the scenario. And that's, yeah.
Yes.
You hit a nerve, Matt.
I do agree. Sometimes there's just a feel of the game. Like you can't just make every decision based on what the numbers say. If the guy's doing well, good. Like I'll take the Suns for example. Chris Paul and Devin Booker, they are like money from the mid-range game. But analytics tell you the mid-range game is not good because the three-pointer is more valuable. So should they only be taking threes when they can make the mid-range? It's a tough conversation. So Mike, this is a 1-year anniversary.
Yes.
And I was trying to look for topics we could talk about.
50 horse-sized ducks.
No. I'm glad. I didn't think you were going to say ducks.
I was
very concerned about what was coming out of your mouth.
I was like, is he going to bring up an old take it? Like,
well, one of our old take it's was soccer versus golf.
Oh my god.
And today, for the first time on our podcast, we're going to talk some soccer. So, the huge news of the sports world in the past week has been the potential changes to European soccer. Have you seen any of this?
I have not, but I'm sorry that it was such a slow news week for you.
It was, but this is actually big news. So a lot of the main big popular soccer teams in Europe are threatening to leave their leagues and start their own Super League. So before we get into why this is so bad for soccer, because it's horrible for soccer, Super League is an awesome name for a league.
That sounds amazing.
Like, who wouldn't want to play in the Super League?
WWE Super League.
So let's dive into why this is actually really, really, really bad for soccer. Basically, Mike, what this is equivalent to. Let's say in the NBA,
it's like Lakers, the ABA and the NBA.
Sure.
Sorry.
So let's say in the NBA, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Heat, the Knicks. Let's throw in
the Nets,
the Spurs, the Nets, the Bulls, and maybe the Mavericks. Let's say the top 8 most popular NBA teams leave the NBA to go start their own league. Obviously, that's great for them because they're going to make a ton of money, but the rest of the league is probably going to fall apart.
Yeah. I can't say that I disavow it because I'm sure there's much more of a bigger reason as to why. Because I'm looking at these teams for everybody knows. Like I'm reading the teams like Manchester City, Chelsea, Barcelona of all people, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, like the very large and large fan base. They're leaving. You're gonna have some issues with the whole European League when it comes to those guys leaving if they do.
And not even that, just think about like the history of the Champions League. Like when all these teams qualify to play each other, that kind of goes away. Like you're just killing European soccer. They're basically only doing it for money. I believe one of the organizers of the Super League, which no one knows if it's actually going to happen yet. We'll get to that in a little bit. Said that when this league starts, each team that joins would get $420 million off the bat. I don't know how they figured that out.
Where do I sign?
Yes.
$420 million on 420.
So it's great for them that they're going to make a ton of money, but it's kind of going to kill European soccer. Now, there are things that are coming out that some of the players and teams might not be able to do. FIFA has said that anyone who plays in the Super League will not be allowed to play for their team in the World Cup.
Well, how is that fair? I hate to say it, but how is that fair?
I don't know if it is or not, But
that's like
that's where we're going.
That's like European players who are playing in the MLS. MLS is saying, "Oh, you can't play for your home country in the World Cup." That's basically what it's saying.
Whether it's going to happen or whether it's just a scare tactic, I don't know. The UEFA League, which is the European Soccer Federation, European Football Federation.
Thank you.
They also said that they can't play any national games for their teams.
So dumb. I'd say it's just so dumb.
Yes, but the Super League is more dumb.
In what way? I mean, you think overall soccer is just dumb in general, so I'm excited to hear this opinion.
I do, but European soccer is like the mecca of soccer.
European soccer is the equivalent of American football.
It's bigger than American football.
But that's what I mean. But that's our equivalent
sport in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's just ruining. I think it's just going to ruin soccer. Like it just is. Like why would you watch the other teams if they don't have a chance to play the big teams?
But why would you? Sorry, what?
So like the lesser teams that aren't going to be joining the Super League. Why would anyone watch them? Because they're never going to have an opportunity to play. Manchester City, to play Manchester United, Barcelona. It also leaves out PSG in France. They're right now not going in it. Bayern Munich in Germany, they're not going to go in it. They're kind of getting screwed out of this too.
I think this shows the what's the word I'm looking for? The polarity? Is that what it is? Like polar?
Yeah.
Like the polarity? Yeah. Like we're gonna flip it. I'll flip it to the NBA really quick. Like back when LeBron was in the East, and it was LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love, and nobody. I mean, yeah, you had some key players in each game, but you didn't have that superstar team like Kevin Love, Kyrie, and LeBron.
Right
now, it's on the West. West had Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. Like the volatility of these teams. There's the word, the volatility. It just shows that you don't have a sustainable league because of the players that are involved. Because those teams that I mentioned, like Barcelona, Leo Messi, like first of all, but even that, like having all those players come together, it just goes to show that 9 teams can leave, and the whole thing would be in shambles. And that could be same to apply in the NBA. You pick all those teams, boom, NBA would be in complete shambles if they started their own league.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see if it actually happens. I do have some breaking news that I'm trying to find real quick relative to the Super League, and of course I can't find it. 2 teams just backed out. I'm trying to find who it was real quick. I would like to. I'm just saying this personally. I disavow the Super League. Other than the fact that the Super League is a fantastic name.
There's definitely some political background to it. Like there's some politicking that's going behind it. Maybe something's not coming into agreement with the league versus the organization. So that's why they are attempting to back out of it in this way. I'm hoping there comes to an agreement. I would say, like, would it be okay? Yes. Am I a fan of it? I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. So I think it really just goes to show that, like I said, the volatility of how limited each team is, or the league itself. Like you have those super teams, and then if they left, you wouldn't have soccer.
Okay, so here's breaking news. Manchester City, Liverpool, Manchester United, and Arsenal are supposedly beginning the process of pulling out of the Super League.
Interesting.
So they must not have liked the backlash. Someone did make a funny joke that European soccer is getting a Super League right after LeBron buys stock in the European Soccer Club. That was a great joke. Like, that's just funny. So we'll see if this actually happens. Either way, it sounds like some change is coming in European soccer in some way. But we'll find out. And that concludes today's sports topics, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for Buy or Sell. Mike, I will let you go first, my friend.
Okay. Well,
you do both. Buy and
yes.
sell. Yeah.
I remember I had to ask that the last
for
time.
Clarification.
Now, I did say I had a cell somewhere in the beginning, and I just lost it. I don't know where, but Matt, flip a coin, heads or tails?
Heads.
Heads. Okay, I'm going to go with my cell.
Okay.
Very funny you mentioned it. This was before writing it beforehand. But I'm going to sell the Twitter feed. Because I know it's very, very hot topic because you love Twitter. Seeing accounts that like tweets, and then you end up following some people that may like some tweets that you're not totally a big fan about.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, you might see some weird stuff.
Yeah, you can see some very weird stuff. I mean,
Right.
It's very eye-opening.
And then, of course, that worries me because you all know how I love my memes. And now I'm getting people that are very much so very connected towards my professional world. So seeing that I like the tweet about this person doing a keg stand can kind of get a little bit blended and a little weird. So I feel like Twitter just needs to, and I saw a tweet about this. I think Twitter just needs to not do that. And yeah, retweets are fine. Quoted retweets. Likes, on the other hand, like I can go in a profile and check somebody's likes if I really wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, if I follow them, I more so want to follow them to see what they have to say, not what they like on Twitter. Mm-hmm. So I don't disagree with that.
And I guess that this just applies to like high school friends or like people that you just follow that you knew and they're into this weird stuff that you're like, maybe not.
Right. That's fair.
So yeah, Twitter feed. Get your crap together. Get your tweets together. Matt, my buy. Moccasins.
Okay. I'm down
moccasins.
For this. I love, who doesn't love moccasins?
So me being the guy that's starting to slow down a little bit, settling down a little bit, not as active as I used to. I always used to want to have a pair of shoes on me, whether that's my dress shoes, my Nikes, my Under Armours, whatever that may be, the shoe that wants to sponsor me the most. And I Jenna's going to be like, you started this because I was wearing them. But anyway, I remember Jenna having a pair and I'm like, where did you get those? She's like, DSW. And I'm like, can I what do you think would be the best one? So bought a pair of moccasins and I usually the first pair that I bought that I wore them literally everywhere. So I wore them when I was shopping. I wore them when I was at home. I wore them at work. I have moccasin Fridays every day at work. So, but moccasin Fridays not every day at work. Moccasin every Friday. Moccasin Friday every Friday. Duh. Okay. And things were getting a little scary because I thought those moccasins were going to go. But for Christmas, the Reed family got me some off-road moccasins. So now when I'm at home or if I'm in indoors, usually I bring them to Jenna's house. Jenna's parents' house. So I usually wear my moccasins, but if we're going out, for going outside, for going shopping, I'll throw on the off-roads and kick into the four-wheel drive, my friends. So, yeah, moccasins.
I feel like there's two types of people in this world. Moccasin people and those who wear Crocs.
Crocs. I knew you were going to say that.
What do you think? Do you think there's more Croc fans or more moccasin fans in the world?
Ooh, that's tough.
That's a tough question.
We did not see. I remember Crocs was giving away free Crocs to all of our frontline workers, which good for them. I think people like having Crocs, wearing those Crocs, but I don't know, man. I feel like I can get through more terrain with Crocs than moccasins if we're really thinking about it.
Probably. You can't wear the moccasins to the beach.
But moccasins are much more comfortable if you're living in a colder area.
Oh, yeah. And like indoors. Like I wouldn't want to wear Crocs inside.
Right.
So it's a fair point.
So yeah, buy and sell. Moccasins in the Twitter feed, seeing accounts that like things. So.
Alrighty. I will start with my buy. I have a few of each. I'm buying Twitter.
Oh.
I am buying Twitter. Did you see Chrissy Teigen come back on Twitter?
Oh, I have to share something else with you, Matt. But yes, I did see Chrissy Teigen come on back, and a little weird with the tweets.
Why do we have to announce we're coming back to Twitter?
Do we have to?
I don't know. I would like to announce I'm never leaving Twitter. I want to put that out there.
I'm taking my talents to staying on Twitter.
Yeah. So like 2 or 3 weeks ago tweeted she's leaving Twitter, like forever. Now 3 weeks later, she's back. Like if you just want to leave Twitter, just leave Twitter. I don't need a whole shebang about it.
Shebang. Did you also see this whole thing about PEMDAS going about?
No, I did
on
not
Twitter.
see that.
So there's this math problem. It is 6 divided by 2 in parentheses 1 plus 2 equals what? And Twitter was going ballistic on what the answer was.
Hold on. So it's 6 divided by 2 parentheses 1 plus 2?
Yeah. Can I write it in the chat? Because I want to make sure. 6 divided by 2 in parentheses 1 plus 2.
So it's 1.
That's what Matt Parker is saying on Twitter as I did
it's 1. Because you do the 1 plus 2 first, and then you do multiplication. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1.
Okay.
There we go. We can do 3rd grade math.
We can do math.
Perfect. That's another reason why I'm not leaving Twitter. Like those conversations are dumb, but like half the people don't know them. It's great to watch. I'm buying A-Rod. So
poor guy.
Yeah. I mean, did you see that video? Oh my god.
Arms of an angel.
That was a low moment for him. That was probably rock bottom. However, I have a spin zone. He just bought the Minnesota Timberwolves.
He did.
Is A-Rod not the hottest bachelor in the country?
I
mean, can anyone think of a better one off the top of my head? I can't. I'm certainly not a hotter bachelor than A-Rod.
And of course, his dance moves. Do you remember when he was at J-Lo's practice for the Super Bowl and he was like showing her off and he's like dancing too? Like, come on, man! Like, get somebody who supports you. Like A-Rod used to support J-Lo.
But like, what's the bigger flex than saying, "Yeah, I just bought an NBA team"?
After my were they married? They were married.
I don't believe they were.
My girlfriend of X amount of years.
Yeah, I mean it's looking good for A-Rod. I mean, that story, that Instagram story or post was awful. I mean, how do you post that? It was just kind of funny to think about. I'm also buying the NCAA. They finally did something good. And they are changing the rule that when athletes transfer from one school to another, they don't have to sit out a year.
That's good.
Thank God.
Thank God.
That rule always pissed me off. I am complaining about sports officiating. So we all know that referees suck.
I'm a big one.
in all the sports. If you look recently, the Suns got a very lucky call in the last night's game. 2 weeks ago, the Phillies scored a winning run in the top of the ninth. They went to replay. The guy didn't touch home plate, and they still called him safe. Why I'm selling it is like everybody always floods the Twitter and Facebook. So like, oh, these guys are terrible. Nothing's gonna change. Like we no matter if they add replay, if they take replay away, people that think robot referees are gonna make this better, that's just gonna make it worse. We should just stop complaining about sports referees because it's just never going to change.
Are you okay with the heckling of fans to an umpire?
To a degree. I mean, some things can be funny. So some of them can be funny. Some people take it over the top, obviously. Like when you're at a kid's baseball game, you're like, "Oh, someone's got a hot date tonight." That's funny.
When
you start going at them and cursing at them, maybe a little too much.
Yeah, oh my gosh, Trent had a baseball game. What was it this past weekend? He was actually up in my area, so I got a chance to go up with him. And Trent got a really bad strike strike 3 on him below the shin. And the umpire's like, strike 3. And I'm like, the dude has to reach that. And then third base coach, the main coach, head coach, got really upset. He said, Jesus. And he goes, you're gone. And I'm like, I almost said out loud, I'm like, why do we have to hire Catholic umpires?
That's that. You should have said that. That would have been funny. You would have gotten thrown out. But that was, oh my God, that was a missed opportunity.
I said, those damn Catholics, you saying the Lord's name in vain.
That's a perfect comeback. Oh my god.
Anytime at basketball games too, anytime I'm at like a school that like you have to pay tuition to go to, I'm like, he's probably trying to get their son a discount to come here.
Probably. I'm not saying sports referees don't suck. They do. It's just going on Twitter and saying something needs to be done about this. It's not going to change anything. Like, there's always going to be a human element to the game that is going to affect it.
I think you're right. Based on the human element, even with that additional, I mean, again, we heckle our athletes all the time. Like, well, LeBron, like, why the heck did you miss that game-winning shot? Like, you're the best player in the world, and yet you're still missing shots. I don't know. I feel like it's the nature of the game to heckle an umpire or a player, but for you to go out and saying like these guys are awful, like, I mean, I said it today at work. I'm like, we're all human. And we're all trying the best that we can. I mean, some of it's blatantly stupid, but sometimes we are blatantly stupid.
Absolutely. And then finally, I'm selling Jake Paul. I'm selling Logan Paul. I'm just selling both the Paul brothers. Can we just please stop talking about the Paul brothers? I think the world would be a much better place if we just forgot they existed. I mean, that fight, I didn't buy the fight.
Thank God you did it.
It was because it was $50. They had like 12 concerts.
Yeah, it was more of a concert than it was.
Like,
it was
if he wants to actually be a fighter, and like he wants to actually fight, don't do your own pay-per-views. Go be a fighter.
I think I also saw too not the idea, but just Logan. No, Jake.
I think Jake.
Who the frick is which one? Whatever the Paul. One of the Paul. One of the idiot brothers. They need to. What I've been seeing on Twitter is they need to fight. He needs to fight an actual fighter, like, because is it Berserk, whatever the heck he faced off against?
Well, Ben Askren, who actually was a legit fighter.
He's a legit fighter, but was not the degree in which they presented the fight. Like, he what was he more UFC?
I think so. Yeah.
And they had a boxing match. Is that what it was?
Yep.
That's like saying, hockey guy, here's a soccer ball, score.
Also, why would that guy take Jake Paul seriously? Like, from what I heard, he took a dive. He took one punch and he was out.
I was like, maybe he got paid a lot of money too for it.
Oh, I'm sure. Listen, if I was that dude, Jake Paul wants to fight you. Jake Paul's going to make you a lot of money. And that he did what he did. He took the paycheck. Like, I don't blame him at all.
There was a couple other bouts that were happening in that pay-per-view, was there?
Oscar De La Hoya fought somebody. I don't know who. Also, apparently, Snoop Dogg smoked a joint in the middle of the thing. And then all the announcers just kept saying, like, hey, guys, you still remember like 5 minutes ago when Snoop Dogg smoked the joint? Like, they couldn't stop talking about it.
So we had Snoop Dogg. We had
Mario Lopez was there.
Mario Lopez. We had the D'Amelios and Addison Rae hand the belt to what I saw it on TikTok. It was like, well, they were going to hand it to the person who lost, went back over to the person who won, walked over to the person who lost, and then walked back over. So I had to say it, they had no place being in that ring at all whatsoever. It was just, oh yeah, like, it's D'Amelios, let's give it to them. Like,
Did you see the story that one of the Paul brothers makes people sign NDAs when they go to his house?
Yeah,
that's
man.
Scary.
I hate to be a little. I'll be honest, because you bought honesty last time we did this.
Okay.
I listened to an impulsive podcast last night when I was doing laundry because I was just super curious. Like, I didn't finish it. I was just so curious, and they were saying something about an NDA, and I'm like,
yeah,
huh.
Go ahead. Just odd. It's very odd. Go ahead.
Is that more just based on you can't talk about anything until the podcast is released, or?
No, it's like anyone that goes to his house, he makes them sign an NDA.
That's freaky.
Yeah. And then now there's stuff coming out in the news about that, which you can probably connect to and two.
Yeah. Not a surprise.
So I'm just selling the Paul brothers. Get him off my screen.
Get him off my screen. He was originally Logan. Oh, that's how I remember. Logan Paul and the Suicide Forest. That's how I remember that.
Yes. And now one of them said they might quit social media. Who believes that? No one.
That sounds like me quitting social media. Dude,
True.
The dude makes a freaking living off of social media. Like,
true.
Oh man, Matt.
That's all I got. That was a handful.
That was a handful. But wow. 1 year, man.
Still weird.
It's still
Don't have to
weird.
get into it again, but it's still weird.
And like, I think I told my boss, I'm like, yeah, it's like 1 year recording. And she turns around, she's like, 1 year? I'm like, did you doubt us?
Time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun. And that is why we are releasing. No, I'm just kidding.
Doesn't seem like this 2021 is just like on like light speed. Like we're already like halfway through April.
That's crazy. I tried sharing that, and they're like, "We didn't even make it halfway through April yet." I'm like, guys, my head's already in May already. Like, there's stuff planned for May that I have to get to.
Summer is fast approaching, people.
Hot girl summer, hot mask summer.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it is hot mask summer because you get hot in those masks.
Yeah, you do.
Well, guys, I think the one thing we do want to make a point, and I think Matt and I talked about this beforehand, is just thank you. And what we mean by that is thank you to the person who is either listening with their AirPods, headphones. We don't discriminate any type of headphone. Thank you to everybody who was listening on their car ride to, whether that's an event, a boyfriend, girlfriend's house, a parent's house. Thank you for being our white noise. Even though I would hope that you would kind of listen to us, we just appreciate that you're just listening or just being open to the fact. You may have some things here or there that you're like, oh, what did they say? What the heck? And I'm sure that's plenty of times because Matt and I like to screw up. Thanks to everybody who's watched our Twitch, watched our YouTube. What am I missing, Matt?
Just support us in any way you have. I mean, it's we really wouldn't be doing it if we didn't have like this much support. And like we do get people that text us about it and talk to us about it, and it's just really cool to like engage with you all.
Mm-hmm. And like people still are like, oh, like I gotta get to listening to your podcast. And it's like, take your time.
Yeah,
it's like we got 52 episodes. Like you can just lock it in and just watch it, listen the whole time. Anywhere. No,
not leaving.
No, I'm not leaving. I'm too lazy to edit out. But yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you follow us on our social media. You can find us all of our social media platforms at solo.to/funnybusiness. And yeah, before I get sentimental, Matt, what do you got to wrap up?
I think that's pretty much about it. I am hopefully going to see tomorrow on Wednesday of this week, we'll have seen a Major League Baseball game in person. So that's kind of cool.
There you go, man.
Weather looks like shit, but we'll make it work.
And as of right now, at the time of this recording, I am going to Moe's on Friday. So I will be celebrating 1 year with Moe's with that golden queso of goodness. And
just add up that $6,000, baby.
And one thing we found out about this freaking podcast. Well, until the next time, we'll see you all in the next episode.
Stay safe, everyone.